Hi, welcome back to our channel.
Hi, my name is Hannah Miles, and I play Miss Prism in The Importance of Being Earnest.
My name is Leslie, and I'm an editor.
My name is Ryan Linton, and I play Jack Worthing, and I'm on the sound team.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I play Merriman, and I am also on the sound team and the editors team.
Hi, my name is Tim Briones, and I'm narrator for Act 1.
So, while we were doing this play, we were really interested in the era that this play is set, which is the Victorian era, and why making a proper cup of tea was so important, as you saw in Act 2. We were really interested in how this beverage became a staple in their society.
So today we are going to be going on a journey through time and discovering beverages throughout the ages, as well as giving you a tutorial along the way.
First up, we have the beginning of time, which the only thing you really had to drink was water. So for this prehistoric water tutorial, you first have to grab a bucket and go to your nearest source of water. Next, bring it inside and heat it over a heat source to get out all the harmful bacteria. Next, you have to let it cool so you get that cool, cold, refreshing drink. I know this is hard, folks, but it is truly the only way to get that nice, refreshing drink.
Next, we have wine and ale, which dominates a good few thousand years. However, since we can't drink this, we will be giving you a quick history lesson instead of a tutorial. Stay responsible, kids!
Wine was first believed to be discovered in present-day Georgia and Armenia around 6000 BC because they were the first culture to domesticate grapes. However, similar fermented beverages were found in China in 7000 BC. Ale was discovered much later, however, in the medieval times, around 450
AD.
These beverages lasted so long because they represented a social and class divide. Wine was usually reserved for the royalty or upper class or special occasions, whereas ale or mead could be found in any corner pub or in the average household.
Now we arrive at the drinking time period of our play, The Importance of Being Earnest, tea in the Victorian era. Though this beverage was actually discovered in Asia around 2700 BC, it takes high prevalence in our story in this era as a whole. So Liv's going to show you a Victorian tea tutorial.
Hi guys, so today I will be teaching you how to make a proper cup of Victorian tea. For the full tutorial, check out English Heritage's YouTube channel. First you need to heat the pot itself so that it's quite hot. For our next step, you'll take 1 teaspoon of tea leaves per person who's drinking the tea and put it into your teapot. And for our third step, we will take scalding hot water and pour it into the tea kettle. Now we let it ferment for 5 minutes. The next step is to pour your tea through a strainer to get out all of the tea leaves. Finally, add some milk and sugar to your preference. And there you have it, folks.
For this next era of beverage, we go back to alcohol. And as with the last era of alcohol, we still cannot drink this, so Ryan will be giving you some historical background instead of a tutorial.
Alcohol played a pivotal role in this era because it was protested instead of indulged through the temperance and prohibition movement. This resulted in Congress passing the 19th Amendment in 1920, which banned all alcohol throughout the United States. This action, however, was protested so much that it was repealed with the 21st Amendment that was put in place in 1930.
The next beverage to sweep the nation was pop in the mid to late 20th century.
Pop in its original form was commonly used as medicine in the 1800s. As it evolved, it became more available in corner shops in the early 1900s. However, it was not until the mid to late 1900s that the pop was mainstream as we know it today. For this pop tutorial, you'll just need a can of pop in yourself, and there you go.
For our final era in beverage, we will be staying here in the modern era and making coffee. So Hannah's going to be doing a whipped coffee tutorial as seen on TikTok.
Hi, this is Hannah's whipped coffee bar, and today we're making whipped coffee. Fun, right? So what you'll need is 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1 tablespoon of coffee, and 1 tablespoon of water, like so, like that. And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna combine all of your ingredients, and you're gonna give this a nice good shake. And then you're just gonna take your fresh ice and pour it into your cup, just so, like so, like that. And then you're gonna pour the milk in, like so, like that, because that's your business. And then you're gonna take your whipped coffee, And then you go place it right on top, like so, like that. And then you have whipped coffee. Fun, right?
Thanks so much for watching this video and traveling through time with us and discovering different beverages.
Now, we hope you enjoyed the third and final act of The Importance of Being Earnest. Bye!
Gwendolyn and Cecily are at the window, looking out into the garden.
The fact that they did not follow us at once into the house, as anyone else would have done, seems to me to show that they have some sense of shame left.
They have been eating muffins. That looks like repentance.
They don't seem to notice us at all. Couldn't you cough?
But I haven't got a cough.
Oh, they're looking at us.
They're approaching. That's very forward of them.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly. It is the only thing to do.
Enter Jack, followed by Algernon.
This dignified silence seems to produce an unpleasant effect.
A most distasteful one.
But we will not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, I have something very particular to ask you. Much depends on your reply.
Gwendolyn, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order that I might have an opportunity of meeting you.
Turns to Gwendolyn.
That certainly seems a satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear, you can believe him.
I don't, but that does not affect the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True, in matters of grave importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer to me for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order that you might have an opportunity of coming up to town to see me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts upon the subject, but I intend to crush them. This is not the moment for German skepticism.
She turns to Cecily.
Their explanations appear to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. That seems to me to have the stamp of truth upon it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
Then you think we should forgive them?
Yes, I mean no.
True, I had forgotten. There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. Which of us should tell them? The task is not a pleasant one.
Could we not both speak at the same time?
Oh, an excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time from me?
Certainly. 1, 2, 3.
Your Christian names
Names.
are still an insuperable barrier. That's all.
That is all.
Our Christian
Our
names?
Christian names? Is that all?
Is that all? But
But we are
we are
going
going
to
to be christened this afternoon.
Jack, for my sake, you are prepared to do this terrible thing?
I am.
Algie, oh please tell me you are ready to face this fearful ideal.
I am.
We are.
Clasps hands with Algernon.
Jack, my darling!
Cecily, my darling.
He embraces Cecily. Enter Merriman. When he enters, he coughs loudly, seeing the situation.
Lady Bracknell.
Good heavens!
Enter Lady Bracknell. The couple separate in alarm. Exit Merriman.
Gwendolyn, what does this mean?
Merely that I am engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come here. Sit down. Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young and of physical weakness in the old. Appraised, my sir, of my daughter's sudden flight with her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by the means of a small coin. I followed her at once by a luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I am glad to say, under the impression that she is attending a more than unusually lengthy lecture by the University Extension Scheme on the influence of a permanent income of thought. I do not propose to undeceive him. Indeed, I would have never undeceived him on any question. I would have considered it wrong. But of course, you will clearly understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter will cease immediately from this moment. On this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
I am engaged to be married to Gwendolen, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. Now, as regards Algernon.
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
May I ask if this is the house that your ill friend Mr. Bunbury resides?
No, Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? When did Mr. Bunbury die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
I killed Bunbury this afternoon. I mean, poor Bunbury died this afternoon.
What did he die of?
Bunbury? Oh, he was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of a revolutionary outrage? I was not aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he is well punished for his morbidity.
My dear Aunt Augusta, I mean, he was found out. The doctors found out that Bunbury could not live. That is what I mean. So Bunbury died.
He seems to have great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. I am glad, however, that he made up his mind at the last of some definite course of action, and acted under proper medical advice. And now, that we have finally gotten rid of this Mr. Bunbury, may I ask Mr. Worthing, who was that young person whose hand on my nephew Algernon is holding in what seems to be a particularly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cardew, my ward.
Lady Bracknell bows coldly to Cecily.
I am engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
Oh, I beg your pardon?
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
Shivers and crosses to the sofa.
I do not know whether there's anything particularly exciting in the air of this particular part of Hertfordshire, but the number of engagements that go on to seem to me is incredibly above the proper average that statistics have laid down for our guidance. I think some preliminary inquiry on my part would have not been out of place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all connected with any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I had no idea that there were families or persons whose origins was a terminus.
Jacques looks perfectly furious but restrains himself.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, Gervais Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Sporran, Fifeshire.
That sounds not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspire confidence, even in tradesmen. What proof have I of their authenticity?
I have carefully preserved the court guides of the period. They are open to your inspection, Lady Bracknell.
I have known strange errors in that publication.
Miss Cardew's family of solicitors are Messrs. Markby, and Markby.
Markby, and Markby, a firm of the highest position in their profession. Indeed, I am told that one of the Mr. Markbys is occasionally to be seen at dinner parties. So far, I am satisfied.
How extremely kind of you, Lady Bracknell. I also have in my possession, you'll be pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles, both the German and the English variety.
Ah, a life crowded with incident, I see, though perhaps somewhat too exciting for a young girl. I am not myself in favor of premature experiences.
She rises and looks at her watch.
Gwendolyn, the time approaches for our departure. We have not a moment to lose. As a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, I had better ask you if Miss Cardew has any little fortune.
Oh, about £130,000 in the funds. That is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell. So pleased to have seen you.
Lady Bracknell sits down again.
A moment, Mr. Worthing. £130,000 and in funds. Miss Cardew seems me a most attractive young lady now that I look at her. A few girls of the present day have any solid qualities, of any of the qualities that last and improve with time. We live, I regret to say, in an age of surfaces. Come here, Cicely.
Cicely goes across.
Pretty girl, your dress is sadly simple, and your hair seems almost as nature might have left it. But we can soon alter all that. A thorough experienced French maid produces a really marvelous result in a very brief space of time. Kindly turn around, sweet child.
Cicely completely turns round.
No, the side view is what I want.
Cicely prevents her profile.
Yes, quite as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The two weak points in your age is what seems the principal it wants of profile. A chin a little higher, dear. Style largely depends on the way your chin is worn. They are worn very high, just as present. Algernon?
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
There are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily is the sweetest, dearest, prettiest girl in the whole world, and I don't give 2 pence about social possibilities.
Never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that.
She turns to Cicely.
Dear child, of course you know that Algernon has nothing but his depths to deepen upon, but I do not approve of mercenary marriages. When I married to Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, but I never dreamed of a moment for allowing that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cicely, you may address me as Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage, I think, had to take place quite soon.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent. A consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask? Algernon is an extremely, I may almost say, an outstandingly eligible young man. He has nothing, but his looks are everything. What more can one desire?
It pains me very much to have to speak frankly to you about your nephew, Lady Bracknell. But the fact is I do not approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Algernon and Cicely look at him with indignant amazement.
Untruthful? My nephew, Algernon? Impossible!
I fear there can be no possible doubt upon the matter. This afternoon, during my temporary absence in London on an important question of romance, he obtained admission to my house by means of a false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name, he drank, I have just been informed by my butler, an entire pint of my Perrier Jouet Brut 89 wine I was specially reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea and devoured every single muffin! And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he was perfectly well aware from the first that I have no brother, that I have never had a brother, and that I don't intend to ever have a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
Ahem. Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I've decided entirely to overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
That is very generous of you, Lady Bracknell. My decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come here, sweet child.
Cicely goes over.
How old are you, dear?
Well, I am really only 18, but I always admit to 20 when I go to evening parties.
You are perfectly right in making some slight altercation. Indeed, no woman should ever be quite accurate about her age. It looks so calculating. 18, but admitting to 20 and at evening parties. Well, it will not be long before you are of age and free of the restraints of tutelage. So, I don't think your guardian's consent is, after all, any matter of any importance.
Pray excuse me, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you again, but it is only fair to tell you that according to the terms of her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not come legally of age until she is 35.
That does not seem to me to be a grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women of the very highest birth who have, of their own free choice, remained at 35 for years. Lady Dunderan is an instant in point. To all my knowledge, she has been 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which has been many years ago now. I see no reason why our dear Cicely should not be still more attractive at that age than you mentioned that she is at the present. There will be a large accumulation of property.
Algie, could you wait for me till I was 35?
Of course I could, Cecily. You know I could.
Yes, I felt it instinctively. But I couldn't wait all that time. I hate waiting for even 5 minutes for anybody. It makes me rather cross. I am not punctual myself, I know, but I do like punctuality in others, and waiting, even to be married, is quite out of the question.
Then what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
My dear Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait till she is 35, a remark which I am bound to say seems to me to show a somewhat impatient nature. I would beg of you to reconsider your decision.
But, my dear Lady Bracknell, the matter is entirely in your hands. The moment you consent to my marriage with Gwendolen, I will most gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
Lady Bracknell rises and draws herself up.
You must be quite aware that what you propose is out of the question.
Then passionate celibacy is all that any of us can look forward to.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolen. Algernon, of course, can choose for himself.
She pulls out her watch.
Come, dear.
Gwendolen rises.
We have already missed 5, if not 6 trains. To miss any more might expose us to comment on the platform.
Enter Dr. Chasuble.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
The christenings, sir? Is that not somewhat premature?
Dr. Chasuble looks puzzled and points to Jack and Algernon.
Both these gentlemen have expressed a desire for immediate baptism.
At their age, the idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized. I will hear no such excuses. Lord Bracknell would be highly displeased if he learned that was in the only way in which you wasted your time and money.
Am I to understand, then, that there are to be no christenings at all this afternoon?
I don't think that, as things are now, it would be of much practical value to either of us, Dr. Chastable.
I am grieved to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Worthing. They savor of the heretical views of the Anabaptists, views that I have completely refuted in 4 of my unpublished sermons. However, as your present mood seems to be one peculiar secular, I will return to the church at once. Indeed, I have just been informed by the pew opener that for the last hour and a half, Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism? Did I hear you mention, Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Bracknell. I am on my way to join her.
Pray, allow me to detain you for a moment. This matter may prove to be one of the vital importance to Lord Bracknell and myself. Is this Miss Prism a female of repellent aspect, remotely connected with education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies, and the very picture of respectability.
It is obviously the same person. May I ask what position she holds in your household?
I am celibate, madam.
Miss Prism, Lady Bracknell, has been for the last 3 years Miss Cardew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
In spite of what I hear, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for.
Dr. Chasuble notices Miss Prism rushing in.
She approaches. She is nigh.
Enter Miss Prism, hurriedly.
I was told you expected me in the vestry, dear Canon. I've been waiting for you for 1 hour and 3/4.
She catches the sight of Lady Bracknell, who has fixed her with a stony glare. Miss Prism grows pale and quails. She looks anxiously round as if desirous to escape.
Prism?
Miss Prism bows her head in shame.
Come here, Prism.
Miss Prism approaches in a humble manner.
Prism? Where is that baby?
General consternation. The Canon starts back in horror. Algernon and Jack pretend to be anxious to shield Cecily and Gwendolen from hearing the details of a terrible public scandal.
28 years ago, Prism, you left Lord Bracknell's house, number 104, Upper Grosvenor Street, in charge of a perambulator that contained a baby of the male sex. You never returned. A few weeks later, though the elaborate investigations of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was discovered at midnight, standing by itself in a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained the manuscript of a 3-volume novel of more than usually revolting sentimentality.
Miss Prism starts in involuntary indignation.
But the baby was not there!
Everyone looks at Miss Prism.
Prism? Where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame that I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day you mention, a day that is forever branded on my memory, I prepared as usual to take the baby out in its preambula. I had also with me a somewhat old but capacious handbag in which I had intended to place the manuscript of a work of fiction I had been writing during my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction for which I can never forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit the handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
Miss Prism, this is a matter of no small importance to me. I insist upon knowing where you deposited the handbag that contained the infant.
I left it in the cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations in London.
Which railway station?
Victoria, the Brighton line.
She sinks into a chair.
I must retire to my room for a moment. Gwendolen, wait for me here.
If you are not too long, I will wait here for you all my life.
Jack exits in great excitement.
What do you think this means, Lady Bracknell?
I dare not even suspect Dr. Chancellor. I need hardly to tell you that in families of high position, strange coincidences are not supposed to occur. They are hardly considered the thing.
Noises heard overhead as if someone was throwing trunks about. Everyone looks up.
Uncle Jack seems strangely agitated.
Your guardian has a very emotional nature.
This noise is extremely unpleasant.
Dr. Chasuble looks up.
It has stopped now.
The noises redouble.
I wish to arrive at some conclusion.
This suspense is terrible. I hope it lasts.
Enter Jack with a handbag of black leather in his hand. Jack rushes over to Miss Prism.
Is this the handbag, Miss Prism? Examine it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends on your answer.
It seems to be mine. Yes. Here's the injury it received through the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus in younger and happier days. Here's a stain on the lining caused by the explosion of a temperance beverage, an incident that occurred at Leamington. And here, on the lock, are my initials. I had forgotten, in an extravagant mood, I had placed them there. The bag is undoubtedly mine. I am delighted to see it so unexpectedly restored to me. It has been a great inconvenience being without it all these years.
Miss Prism, more is restored to you than this handbag. I was the baby you placed inside it.
You?
Jack rushes and embraces her.
Yes, Mother!
Miss Prism recoils in indignant astonishment.
Mr. Worthing, I am unmarried.
Oh, Mother, I forgive you.
He tries to embrace her again.
Mr. Worthing, there is some error.
She points to Lady Bracknell.
There is a lady who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Bracknell, I hate to seem inquisitive, but would you kindly inform me who I am?
I am afraid that the news I have to give you will not altogether please you. You are the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and coincidentally, Algernon's elder brother.
Algy's elder brother? Then I have a brother after all. I knew I had a brother. I always said I had a brother. Cecily, how could you ever doubted that I had a brother?
He seizes hold of Algernon and parades him around.
Dr. Chastable, my unfortunate brother. Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolen, my unfortunate brother. Algy, you young scoundrel, you must treat me with more respect in the future. You have never behaved to me like a brother in all your life.
Well, not till today, old boy, I admit. I did my best, however, though I was out of practice.
The brothers shake hands.
My own Jack. But what own are you? What is your Christian name now that you have become someone else?
Good heavens. I'd quite forgotten that point. Your decision on the subject of my name is irrevocable, I suppose.
I never change.
What a noble nature you have, Gwendolen.
Then the question had better be cleared up at once. Aunt Augusta, a moment. At the time when Miss Prism left me in the handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury that money could buy, including christenings, had been lavished on you by your fond and doting parents.
Then I was christened. That is settled. Now, what name was I given? Let me know the worst.
Being the eldest son, you are naturally christened after your father.
Yes, but what was my father's Christian name?
I cannot at the present moment recall what the general's Christian name was, but I have no doubt he had one. He was eccentric, I admit, but only in later years.
Algy, can't you recollect what our father's Christian name was?
My dear boy, we were never on speaking terms. He died before I was a year old.
His names would appear in the army lists of the period, I suppose, Aunt Augusta?
The general was essentially a man of peace, except in his domestic life. But I have no doubt his name would appear in any military directory.
The army lists of the last 40 years are here. Oh, these delightful records should have been my constant study.
He rushes to the bookcase and tears the books out.
Generals. Malum, Maxbaum, Magley. What ghastly names they have. Markby, Migsby, Mobbs, Moncrief, Lieutenant, 1840. Captain, Lieutenant Colonel. Colonel, General, 1869. Christian names. Ernest, John.
He puts the book very quietly down and speaks quite calmly.
I always told you, Gwendolyn. My name was Ernest, didn't I? Well, it is Ernest after all. I mean, it naturally is Ernest.
Yes, I remember now that the general's called Ernest. I knew I had some particular reason for disliking that name.
Ernest! My own Ernest! I felt from the first that you could have no other name.
Gwendolyn, it is a terrible thing for a man to find out suddenly that all his life he has been speaking nothing but the truth. Can you ever forgive me?
I can, for I feel that you are sure to change.
My own one!
Cecily, it's last!
He embraces her.
Gwendolyn, at last!
He embraces her.
My nephew, you seem to be displaying signs of true vitality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, I have now realized, for the first time in my life, the vital importance of being earnest.
Hang out this lovely epic. Next we have
Okay. Ready? Action. Just edit the clip
Hi, welcome back to our channel. I'm Hannah Wilde and I play Miss Prism.
No, I mean, can we use this in I saw this today and was like,
It started going.
okay, that's right.
We're all just like,
Back to our channel.
We have to all say it. Yeah, we have to say it You don't.
For the poll to do it.
You do not have to say everything word for word. You can just go.
For the poll to do it.
one idea.
He's nowhere near composed.
And then we have a proper cup of tea. Enjoy.
Are you sure you
Okay,
don't
ready?
want me to edit this for you?
No, I'm good.
You're sure?
Well,
Two-Face.
Throw it back! Throw it!
I know.
She is love.